So a little girl looking around and finishing her breakfast ended it with these words, "What a beautiful day." "It's not a beautiful day," her mother pointed out. "It's cold, it's dark, it's rainy, it's blustery, it's January." "But it is a beautiful day," the little girl said. "You never judge a day by the weather." I'm Ken Bartels, Senior Vice President and Director at CBE, and I welcome you to this 2023 State of Our City event at the Community Bank of Elmhurst. We're delighted to sponsor and host this event with the Elmhurst Chamber of Commerce and Industry in the city of Elmhurst. This event's been going on since 1997, that's some 26 years, and we thank you for your attendance, whether you're here in person or whether you're seeing us streaming live as we are right now. So a sincere morning greeting. Now, with the first challenge of the morning, I would ask you to stand and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. It's my pleasure to introduce to you a leader in the community, an active participant with many organizations, and a local podcaster from atop an Elmhurst water tower, Rich Reichert, the President and CEO of CBE.
Wow, great introduction, Ken. Welcome on behalf of Community Bank of Elmhurst, on behalf of our directors and our employees, and we have a special guest today, our chairman of the board, George Hammersmith Jr. is in the back of the room. Wave, George. All the way from Colorado/Arizona. So Ken mentioned there have been about 26 of these, and I'm guessing there's a few of us in the room that have been at every one. And in the words of Clark Griswold, that's nothing to be proud of for us. So 30 years, that's a significant amount of time. And what was going on 30 years ago? Well, Bill Clinton was president. Prime rate was 6%. It's 7.5% right now, by the way, for those of you who don't know. Tom Marcucci had just been elected to the first of his 4 terms as mayor of Elmhurst. City manager Jim Grabowski had just entered kindergarten for the first time. Elmhurst Hospital was located on Berto Avenue. Oh, we have the radio going there. District 205 had not even dreamed of the new York High School, which has now been there for about 20 years in the new academic wing. John Quigley was thrown out of his first baseball game in the age 55 and over league. Mayor Levin was still wearing a mullet. And in that year, 1993, CBE, Community Bank of Elmhurst, opened its doors in a double wide out front to start serving our customers in our community, this great community of Elmhurst, with our founders, George F. Hammersmith Sr. and William C. Gooch Jr. Also, 30 years ago, I had hair. And my only co-worker to take this 30-year journey with me, Nancy Brooke, actually liked me. But a lot of things have not changed in those 30 years. This incredible, vibrant community that we all call home, Elmhurst, is still the incredible, vibrant community today that it was then. The people of Elmhurst care about their families and they care about their neighbors. Our bank is still owned by the same family 30 years later, and we are proud to continue to be an integral part of our community. It's cliche to thank folks for their service, but I think it's important, and there's a whole lot of people here that serve our community every day. Some are paid, some aren't. Obviously, I'm going to list a bunch, and we'll clap for them all at the end, but obviously our first responders, police, fire, our ambulance folks, the people who serve as elected officials, appointed officials. There's many commissions in this town where many of you here volunteer. And then, of course, those folks that either currently serve or have served in our military. So could we give them all a round of applause? And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that this past year we lost a friend in our police chief Mike Ruth. So please continue to keep his family in your prayers and his brethren in the Elmhurst Police Department. One last thing, I want to thank the folks at Fresh Start Cafe for helping us with breakfast today, and thank all of our employees for the wonderful job they did setting this up, getting you transportation, helping you park, everything they've done over the last few days to get ready for this. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Our next speaker has been the president and CEO of the Elmhurst Chamber since 1999. Prior to that service, he was with Elmhurst University for a time and a graduate of that institution. John leads our chamber and has led it marvelously through COVID and now post-COVID. If there's any example of we're finally out of this thing, or at least mostly, it's all of you sitting here today, because it hasn't been this populated in a little while. So it's good to see you all. Please welcome John Quigley.
Just a bit of housekeeping. You can have a radio and a gun only if you're wearing dress blues. So turn off your cell phones, please, if you haven't already, or mute them. Good morning, and thanks to all of you for being part of our Chamber's annual State of Our City Mayoral Address Membership Breakfast. I also want to give a special thank you to our friends here at Community Bank of Elmhurst, who have partnered with us for a quarter century to provide a Hammersmith Community Room as the venue, and, as importantly, pick up the check for your breakfast buffet. Come March, our Chamber will celebrate the accomplishments of 2022 at the 104th Annual ECCI Awards Gala. At that time, we will recognize a group of extraordinary businesses and individuals whose names I will make public for the first time this morning, even before any of the honorees has received his or her notification letter. Here they are. Helping Hand, nothing to sneeze at here. Helping Hands Cleaning Service will be recognized as the A.J. Tachi-Taronis Business of the Year for 2022. Elmhurst University's Desiree Chen will receive the Chairman's Award. Eva Sanchez of See Your House Right Here at Properties Elmhurst is the Ambassador of the Year. And a guy who's normally here but isn't today, John DeVries of DeVries Animal Hospital, will become the 33rd inductee into the ECCI Civic Hall of Fame. Desiree, Eva, would you please stand and please give them a round of applause. And speaking of the Civic Hall of Fame, last December 15, the ECCI Centennial Celebration NFP unveiled the mobile 65-inch touchscreen public memorial that is currently on display on the second floor of the Elmhurst Public Library. The website, ECCICivichallofFame.touchpros.com, went live during last September's Chamber of Commerce Month activities. With us today are Hall of Famers Ralph Paccianio and Bill Shanklin. Ralph and Bill, would you please rise and be recognized? This month, some 19,800 copies of the 2023 Elmhurst Community Directory, where every door direct mail delivered to residents, businesses, and post office boxes across our city, and an additional 1,000 will be hand-delivered through our new resident greeter program over the course of 2023. This publication features a community information section, a buyer's guide, an alphabetical member list, and along with display advertising. And copies are available at your tables and at the registration table as well. For the 4th year in a row, the Community Directory also is accessible via an online pageable version, which is linked to the homepage of our Chamber's website at elmhurstchamber.org. Now, in my modest opinion, I think that any business not listed in the Community Directory or on our Chamber's website membership database is missing out on two of the most cost-effective ways to enhance their consumer marketing, not to mention the third-party endorsement that comes as a member benefit. Yesterday, I Googled Community Bank of Elmhurst and found that the bank's Chambermaster member page listing on our website ranks second in the search results, only behind Community Bank's own website. A typical member generates an average of 500 Chamber website visitor exposures through a combination of member page views, business category searches, and other searches. In the past 12 months, Community Bank's 2 branches combined for 843 member page views, 248 business category search results, and 1,050 other search results of our website. They're not even the best. Edward Elmhurst Health's member page was viewed 1,987 times in the last 12 months. Open to members and non-members alike, our new resident greeter program caters to businesses and organizations wanting to better connect with residents new to our community. Typically, I spend my time here telling you about the plethora of ways that our chamber supports not just our members, but businesses across Elmhurst and the community at large. Today, though, I want to channel my inner John F. Kennedy and challenge our members to ask not what your chamber can do for you, ask what you can do for your chamber. Each of you know and regularly patronize businesses that are not members, and I implore you to be proactive and encourage them to join our chamber by sharing with them how your business has benefited, by bringing them to one of our monthly networking events, and by facilitating a meeting with Director of Member Services, Grace Bagnoli. Basic membership dues starts at little more than $1 a day, and even our top-of-the-line advocate tier is less than the monthly bills for cable TV, household utilities, cell phone, or in my case, 2-liter bottles of Mountain Dew. Thank you for the giggle. And we're going to make it even easier for members to advocate on our behalf when we officially announce our 3-month trial membership campaign, giving prospects 90 days of benefits to judge the value of joining us. Look for that. During my 23 years as ECCI's president and CEO and more than 3 decades of chamber service, we recovered from the Great Recession of 2007 through 09 and the 9/11 terrorist attacks of 2001. With your support, we will fully rebound from the coronavirus pandemic years. To those members who have remained loyal to our chamber during the most challenging of times, I thank you for your steadfast support. Believe me when I say that our organization is essential to the economic life of the Elmhurst community. Thank you. Go ahead and applaud. Now, before I go, let me explain my scruffy appearance. Years ago, Bill Gooch, Rich Reichert's predecessor, and I had a tradition of trading barbs about his treasured Cardinals and my beloved Cubs. So this year I thought I'd take a poke at either Mayor Scott Grizzly Adams or Lex Luthor Reichert. Not surprisingly, growing a beard seemed the lesser of 2 evils than shaving my head. That said, I will let you here today vote like Romans in the Colosseum with a thumbs up or thumbs down as to whether I shave today before we adjourn. Thumbs up, I keep the beard. Thumbs down, I shave it. Please give me thumbs down. Thank you. I will see you shortly. I hate to walk off and then have to walk back on. But it's my pleasure to introduce the chairman of the board of directors of the Elmhurst Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to welcome you on behalf of the board. Would you welcome Rita Borzum of Edward Jones Investments. Rita.
Thank you, John. And I was told to say he's a hard act to follow, but I speak from my heart. So John asked me to speak a couple words, 1 minute. That means 2 30 seconds or 4 15 seconds. For those who attend the breakfast meetings, you know what I'm talking about. So I joined the chamber in January of 2015. And my first after social event was at Tannen's in downtown Elmhurst. So there I am. I don't know a soul in the business community. I walk in, pick up my new member badge, look around and say, oh my gosh, I don't know anyone. People are talking, they're excited, they're smiling, you can feel the energy in the room. Fast forward 8 years. It's 8 years ago that I joined the chamber. Why? It was a way to market my business. So the chamber offers ways to market. You have the breakfast meetings, the after social events, you have the gala, you have your directory, you have your website. They give you numbers, which John described. He took a little bit of my speech, you know. Thank you. Another way is that you know what's going on in the city of Elmhurst. You know what's coming in, new businesses, new developments. You get the inside scoop before it's in the paper. And most importantly, I think one benefit that is not noted is the relationships and friendships that you develop. So when I look around the room today, I know Shirley, I know Desiree, I know Dee, I know everybody. So it's a wonderful experience. So I ask of you today, please join the chamber, attend a breakfast event after evening event, and we will be love to see you there. Thank you.
I couldn't help but notice that John didn't offer you the opportunity to decide about the beard and or taking all his hair off, a la Rich. I was kind of wondering how that vote would go. So in favor of shaving his head? Not in favor. A lot of you didn't vote. But that's okay. He won't do it anyway. Tom Cruise and a friend of his walked into a restaurant one day, and they were standing in line waiting for a table. And the friend said, "Tell him who you are." And Tom said, "If you have to tell him who you aren't anybody." Now, I'm not saying that our next speaker is Tom Cruise. We could do thumbs up, thumbs down on that too, but he is someone that we all know. He's our city's elected leader, a longtime resident, practicing attorney, and ever present Elmhurst promoter. Mayor Scott Levin to present his State of Our City address. Mayor Levin.
Thank you. I forgot my aviator glasses. You always sleep well before an event like this. When do you stop having that dream that the final exam is happening and you forgot to go to the class? It's only happened to me once in real life. But I channeled former Mayor Morley and stayed up late last night as he would do it. I'm not going to channel former Mayor Marcucci and go for an hour. We're going to stick to about 30 minutes. We have a very full house today, so I appreciate everyone coming out here to join me for our State of the City address. I want to thank my friends John Quigley and Rita Borzum and the man for all seasons, Ken Bartels, for this morning. Special thanks to the Community Bank of Elmhurst and Rich Reichert for co-sponsoring and providing the breakfast to all of you. Since becoming mayor, I've had the opportunity to spend a good bit of time with Rich Reichert. I think I mentioned last year he helped teach me to golf because I learned that mayors have to golf, and I never had. Paul Cook and I taught Rich how to ride a motorcycle. This past summer, he and his son made the amazing trip to California. Paul Cook and I and Dan Roche rode them out to the border of the Mississippi River in Minnesota, and they went on to California. They raised a good chunk of money for American Legion. It was quite an event, and I think we'll give you a hand for that, Rich, for raising money for the American Legion. Lastly, I'll thank our friends at Fresh Start, who always serve a wonderful breakfast here on the south side of town. So let's get started. There's a lot going on in Elmhurst, and it would literally take hours to go through everything that we would have to talk about. So I'm going to hit some of the noteworthy events of 2022 and give an overview. It's really a great pleasure. I get a lot of joy about talking about our city to the residents, when I go out and meet with other mayors, when I talk to business leaders, because there's so much to be proud of here. I was in an event yesterday, actually a couple with other mayors, and someone asked, what's the most pressing issue in Elmhurst? I was pressed to think of the most pressing issue because things happen to be going so well in town that we have some issues, but none of them are as large as the issues we've faced in the past, such as stormwater, and then people were talking about this thing called COVID, which I looked up last night. We're past that, so things are going well. So let's start out. City of Elmhurst, who are we? Well, our new census put us at about 46,000 people. Remarkable note is most people don't know they were 50,500 people back in 1970. For some reason, we went all the way down to 42,000 people in 1990. Not sure what the great exodus was due to, but we're working our way back. We have 275 employees in the city in 10 different departments. We have 16 boards and commissions with about 150 volunteers, which is really amazing. And these people who volunteer on these boards and commissions do real work. They really contribute to the work of our city and what we accomplish here. Sometimes people ask me, how do you get on a board or a commission? Well, if you haven't applied and you want to be on one, there's an application on the website. Send it in. Doesn't mean you will be appointed, but I guarantee if you don't, you probably won't be appointed, so I welcome those. Our city council, also unique in that we have 14 aldermen, which is a lot of aldermen. They're all very educated, involved, and in it for the right reason. And I am going to ask our aldermen to stand up for a minute to be recognized. Jennifer Veramus, 1st Ward, Emily Bastido, 6th Ward, Marty Deuter, 1st Ward, Bob Dunn, 2nd Ward, Tina Park from the Fighting 5th, Noel Toludo from the 4th Ward, Chris Jensen, 3rd Ward, and Mark, where are you, Heidi? Mark Mulliner, Mark Mulliner in the 6th Ward. Thank you, guys. And I also want to recognize, I think 2 of the 3 former mayors showed up. Mayor Marcucci, 16-term mayor back there. You can stand up, Tom. It's not that hard. All right. And former Mayor Pete DeCiani, former county board member. So, you know, we take the work seriously. A lot of councils, when I talk to other mayors, they kind of are a rubber stamp. The mayor tells them what they're going to do, and that's what happens. I don't have that problem. We work together. A lot of the good things that happen in our city are things that come right from the aldermen. We began a planning process in 2022 that I think we will continue on into 2023. That'll give us the vision for the next 5 years. I also note that there's a new council coming in. I've enjoyed the cooperation and participation of a very productive council. I note that unlike my predecessors, Marcucci or DeCiani, we actually can finish a meeting in 9 minutes last week or a couple of meetings ago. Doesn't mean we're not doing any less work than what the other councils were. It's just we get it done. We see eye to eye, we talk to each other, not in violation of the Open Meetings Act, and we get it done. We have 3 key aldermen who will not be seeking re-election. Alderman Dunn who was here, Alderman Polumsky, who has a sick daughter, so couldn't make it this morning, and Alderman Michael Honquist. We're losing in these people a lot of leadership and a lot of experience, so a special thank you to those 3 aldermen who have done so much for the city. One more time. On a sort of a personal note, I don't know if any of you have watched county board meetings. Well, you have, Pete, but I've watched a few at the end of last year. I went down to see the inauguration of the new state representatives about a week ago in Springfield. And I got to tell you, I was really stunned by the amount of partisanship that was present. It was overt. And, you know, I'm proud to say that in our council, there's probably a few aldermen that are on the right. I don't mean correct. I mean that some on the left, you know, politically. But I've never seen partisan politics bubble to the surface in our city council. Our aldermen do the right thing. We do what's best for the city. We're neighbors, and we have to maintain that strong sense of community. And that's what I see in our city council. And I'm very, very proud of that. I note that we have municipal elections in April. I hope we'll keep the partisan politics out of those elections. Please be educated, get out and vote, and I want to wish all of the candidates good luck, and thank you for caring enough to run for office. Let's go back to the city now, enough of my side comments. Our city manager just celebrated 11 years with us in July. As I mentioned last year, he's kind of a short-timer in that regard, but he continues to enjoy the strong support of the mayor and the city council. He's been recognized, in my opinion, through my work with other mayors, as one of the leaders, one of the leading city managers in DuPage County and outside. We welcome 4 new department heads, which is a big number to the city in 2022, which we give as a credit to the city manager for the fine hiring that has occurred. I'm going to introduce one right now. The others will come up a bit later. Larry Kravitz, who joined as our new IT director and has been a remarkably well-regarded, talented, fine. Larry, are you here somewhere? Thank you, Larry. All right. So as I prepared, I realized it would take all morning to go through all the directors and all the departments, and I'm going to try to stick on time, so I'm not going to go into every department, but I want to talk about a few of them, and I'm going to start with the money, the finance department. Christina Coyle, who I will call a new director, even though she was here for, I believe, a few weeks at our last State of the City address last March. 2022 was a very, Christine, are you here? I don't know if you can stand up. Yeah, another, go ahead, it's all right. Yeah. I know for all the gyms in town, people are having a hard time standing up. We'll work on that. Very good year for city finances in 2022. Non-property tax revenues, and I say non-property tax revenues were up significantly. Now, why is that good for the taxpayers? Well, let me say that the city of Elmhurst passed a flat property tax, meaning no increase in 2022. So when you get your 2023 property tax bills, or you get the 2022 bill in 2023, you'll pay the same or maybe less unless your house went up in value. A lot of people don't know this, but the city's portion of your property tax bill is only about 6 or 7%. So if you pay $10,000 in property tax, only $600 or $700 comes to the city. The rest goes to other governmental agencies who need that tax support. But in the last 10 years, the city's portion has remained virtually flat, and that's to the attention paid not only by the city manager, but the direction from the city council in terms of watching the budget. But the property taxes only account for about 18% of our total revenues. We get about let's see, about 26% from sales tax. Car dealers, and I see Dan Roche here somewhere, they've had kind of a rough year because you can't get parts. I wonder if we go to war with China, will they continue to sell us parts or not for our tanks? I don't know, but despite the fact that car dealerships, one of our leading sales tax producers, have had lower sales this year, our sales tax overall are up by 8%. So a lot of governments are seeing better tax revenues. The city's share of I think you all know we pay a state income tax. Our share of the state income tax that's given to us accounts for about 27% of our revenues. And I'm one of the people helping lead the fight. In 1969, when the state income tax came to be, it was always known that 10% would be rebated to the local governments, excuse me, based on a pro rata share. And when the state couldn't manage its finances, they started taking a piece of ours, and we're down to about 6.5%. So we're trying to get to 10. We're making a big push to go back, maybe get to 8. But fortunately, we're a well-run city that watches our finances. We still could use that money. A lot of municipalities are suffering without it. We also received some American Rescue Plan Act funds, $6.8 million, and that's going towards maintaining our parking garages, which usually our parking revenues take care of that. No one's parking in 2021 because no one's taking the train. But so it was well-needed money. We've also used it for some of our rehabilitation of our storm systems. So all in all, we have reserves of 25% of our budget, or 3 months operating. We're well above that, so things are in very good shape in terms of the city's finances. One of the new department heads that we welcomed this year was Chief Bill Anashevitz, who has 29 years working in the fire service, 26 in Elmhurst, where he has risen through the ranks. He had been acting chief since I was sworn in as mayor. He broke my record for being an acting person. I only did 6 months as acting mayor. He's had over a year, so it's a new record. But it was my great pleasure to swear him in on October 3rd, and he's done a great job. Bill, are you with us today? There's Bill Anashevitz. One of the goals of the council is to what we call reimagine the fire department. It's a 2022 thought effort. We're going into 2023. The public education that our fire department does and the enforcement of those codes and the public education in the schools results in the fact that we have very few structure fires. But that doesn't mean our firefighters aren't very busy. They responded to 7,000 calls for service in 2022, which is about 1,000 more than there were in 2021. About 4,000 of those were emergency medical services calls, which are also backed up by our firefighters. Our firefighters participated in 18,000 hours of training in 2022. They call them quick drills. They're done on a daily basis. We have 3 specialty teams. We have a technical resources team that does extractions from car accidents. We have a hazmat emergency team that handles hazardous materials and CO2 issues, and a dive team and swift water team that handle water rescues. So a lot of expertise there. I also want to mention we hired a new fire marshal in 2022, Sam Giordano, who oversees our Fire Prevention Bureau. Did 1,000 business inspections, 150 building plan reviews, fire plan reviews, and school inspections in 2022. So he and his staff have been very busy. Sam, are you here today? There's Sam. And it's been my pleasure to get to know you as well, Sam. So our public education division does the programs such as Let's Learn Not to Burn. They conduct CPR and first aid classes. I should have known, but we have this thing called Knox boxes, where if you are elderly or infirmed, You can have a box on your door, and if the fire department is called to respond, they don't have to break in the door, which I know they love to do, but instead they can retrieve the key that no one else can access and come in. So these are a number of the programs that our fire department is involved with, and we hope not to have to call on our firefighters into action, but when the need arises, we want to know that the best are responding. The City of Elmhurst has achieved an ISO, that's Insurance Services Organization Class 1 certification. We're one of but 26 departments in Illinois and about 290 nationwide to achieve that highest designation. So we look to partnering with our firefighters in 2023 as we explore new ways to serve our community. As was mentioned, Police Chief Ruth passed away on May 30th after 44 years as a police officer, 10 serving us as chief. And I should also mention that Bert Munson, who many of you who've been here for a long time would know was a longtime chief in Elmhurst, passed away. Had the honor of giving a proclamation to him and his family about 10 days before he passed away that they took to his hospital room. So we lost a chief and a former chief. We were very fortunate to have right within our ranks some very qualified people, and rising to the top of the top was our own Mike McLean, who has 25 years of law enforcement experience, 22 with the City of Elmhurst. Not very difficult choice for the city manager or the council to say, no need to go out for a search, this is our guy. Chief, please stand and be recognized. You know, we've had a problem getting new police officers after the social unrest following the George Floyd incident. A lot of people are not as willing to become police officers, and actually we've had problems with firefighters as well. When the job market gets good, there's a lot of competition for people who might apply for those jobs. This is a problem that is discussed with the many mayors and city managers, and yet we were able to hire 12 new police officers, something the recruitment effort that the chief made as a priority. For the first time, we're hiring laterally, so we're bringing in some officers that already have experience. Some are coming from Chicago, which is actually a sad commentary, because this is, and I've talked to some of those officers, they're much more happy to work here. I'm not gloating, because Chicago is our economic and cultural hub, and we want it to be strong for those who live in the city. So anyway, our focus here in Elmhurst is on community policing. We have our award-winning neighborhood roll call program, where the shift roll call is done out in the neighborhood. We had about 1,000 residents attend those neighborhood roll calls. We partnered with the police partnered with the fire department for public safety night out in Barron's Park. We had all the police and fire vehicles, the helicopter from Superior Ambulance Landing. We restarted the DARE drug education program after the COVID void. Seniors and law enforcement together, the SALT program is active again. We had another class of our Citizens Police Academy. We had 23 people participate there. And the payoff from all of this is that we have the respect of our residents for our police officers. When we had some social protests in social demonstration in Wilder Park, I watched with and remarked that instead of the anger directed to the police, people were walking over at the end of it and shaking hands with our police officers to thank them for their service. We still have a significant concern with crime, as mentioned last year. Part of that is the proximity to 290. People come in, I will say, from the city, Cook County, commit crimes here, and you can jump right back on 290. In the old days, when the flashing lights came on, you pulled over. I think it now means hit the gas, get on the highway, and go 120 miles an hour, and we can't pursue directly because of the liability issues. This is something that other mayors talk about with me. There's a story, I think it's from Hinsdale, about an offender being arrested, and as he was being handcuffed, he looked at the police officer and said, "We're in Cook County, right?" And the police officer said, actually, this part of Hinsdale's in DuPage, and there were some words, swear words saying, because that person knew that you're not going home tonight. This is DuPage County. We have a lot of wonderful programs for offenders to get on the right side, but if you commit crimes in DuPage County, we have the quality police departments and the quality state's attorney that we are going to protect our citizens. So please rest assured that public safety is the top priority of our city council. We have a highly educated, extremely well-trained police department. This maintains its status as a Tier 1 ILEAP, which is an accreditation program. There are only 45 police departments out of I don't know how many hundred in the state that have achieved that designation that we have. We continue to leverage technology. We talked last year about our license plate reader program that reads license plates as people come and go from the city. Chief told me that we're getting some new technology. I thought it was a helicopter, but it turns out we have 2 drones. I guess they're little helicopters that we are, I guess, starting to deploy last year that help in suspect searches, missing person searches, special event protection. We still have the Ring doorbell program. We encourage people who have those video cameras at their houses to register with the police department. We don't monitor those, but if something happens in your neighborhood, we'll knock on your door and say, do you have anything you can share with us? We had almost 41,000 calls for service in 2022. I say to our residents, we don't have a non-emergency and emergency number, whatever it is, dial 911, don't be embarrassed. There's a guy in Oak Brook who told a story at the meeting yesterday. He's a city council member, village board, whatever they call it there, and he talked about someone broke into the house across the street. The parents had left and the teenage girl was there, and she called her parents, I think there's someone in the house. The parents called this board member across the street who went over to investigate, and he saw the broken glass and called 911. I wanted to say, why didn't you just call 911 right away? So call 911. So I thank the police for their frontline service. Public Works. Well, for the first time in about a decade, stormwater will not be a key part of the State of the City address. We have demonstrated great leadership over the past decade in solving a problem that has plagued not just Elmhurst, but so many municipalities. A lot of people are looking now to Elmhurst as they deal with these problems and say, what did you do? How can we address it? We've handled almost all of the key flooding issues, and so I don't have the fear any longer that when there's a big rainstorm that my phone is going to, I say, ring off the hook. That's an old saying when it used to be on a hook, but it just doesn't happen anymore. Last year, I identified as a council priority the start of neighborhood traffic studies. We wanted to evaluate controlled intersections and those with uncontrolled and those with traffic controls, such as stop and yield signs, for consistency and better traffic flow. We decided we'd go with 2 or 3 neighborhoods as pilots. We began that in 2022. Alderman Deuter and I met with the consultant to have a preview. It's really going to be a remarkable program for consistency in how we handle traffic. It was done in Mount Prospect. They had, I can't remember, it was some huge decrease in accidents, in speeding violations, and we'll look forward to that. Still on Public Works is where we are, but they had the first Public Works Citizens Academy, like we have for our Police Academy, with 22 graduates. Last year, someone asked the question, what about the trees? And we planted 950 trees in 2022, which is about 50% more than we plant in a year, because, and we're going to do the same thing in 2023. We didn't plant any trees in 2021 because COVID budget concerns and wanting to be conservative, so we plan to catch up. The city received its 42nd consecutive Tree City USA Award, which is one of the longest running records in the state. We've continued to work on a multi-year plan to convert all of our street light fixtures to LEDs. About 1,500 were done in 2022, so that brings us to about 2,600 of our 7,000 street lights, which saves the city a whole bunch in electricity costs, and I think they're a better looking light too. Community development planning. I'd say that the concept or the view of the council has been that development is generally a positive occurrence. It's got to be controlled and done right, and we've advocated as a council for refined development and will continue to do so in 2023. We issued 5,600 permits, which is about a 12% increase from 2020, with a total construction value in the city in 2022 of about $180 million. So at the end of 2022, we issued 78 home permits, which is down from the 94 in 2021, but then more than the 65 we had in 2020. 242 commercial permits, which is about the same as 2021. Some big projects, Ryan Development over on Haven and First. It's a 200-unit apartment complex. This is our fourth 200-plus unit building. I'm very proud to say that with each new public project, we've contributed less and less of the public's funds. And this one, there was no ask, or I guess there was a last-minute ask, but there was no give. It is being built without any public funds. There's a tremendous impact downtown in terms of the vibrancy and viability of our downtown businesses because of this development. When the hospital moved from the north end to the south end, there was an immediate impact on our businesses. All of the people who worked at the hospital, the doctors, nurses, the administrators, all of the visitors, none of the patients would go to shop, downtown Elmhurst. When they moved to the far south end, Oakbrook Mall and all of its amenities are much closer. All of the hundreds, maybe now 1,000+ people we've brought downtown Elmhurst feed those businesses. And I walk around a lot downtown Elmhurst, particularly in the summer. It's like walking in a resort town. All the people outside eating, walking around, and it's a lot of fun to be down there. We also have right next door the Eldridge townhome expansion, an additional 50 townhomes. Industrial Kruger Steel expansion built 34,000 square feet of additional warehouse and office space. Retail, I'm not going to list all the business. I will tell you that our vacancy rate is less than 2%. Sometimes people say, why is everything vacant? I don't know where that perception comes from. 2% is remarkably low. We have many new restaurants and shops in downtown and in our other business districts. Yes, we have another beer place or two. We have 2 more coming, but don't worry, we have 5 more physical fitness businesses to work off that beer, so all balances out. One of our goals is walkability, bikeability. That's what we want our town to be known for. So in 2021, the City Council adopted a bicycle plan and pedestrian plan for safer walking and biking in our community. We were trying to make a big push to get people out of their cars. I think I said last year, I talked to the Chief McLean, and we talked about the problem of drop-offs at the schools. And I think it was Chief McLean said, well, they're not really designed for drop-off. They're neighborhood schools, so our kids should be walking to school. And so we want to encourage that. So in November, we had the inaugural meeting of our, still called the Bike Walk Working Group. We had many applicants. It's going to be chaired by Mike LaCicero and Armeline Moretti. And I saw one of our members here who was pleased came, Dan Moretz. But I hope the first order of business will be to come up with a catchier name than that. But we're moving on that. Onto the museum. Our attendance has returned to pre-pandemic levels. 3 major exhibits: People of the Prairie, 12,000 Years in DuPage County, which explored indigenous life in the area we call home from the Ice Age through the establishment of Cottage Hill, which I hope you know is the former name of Elmhurst. Next was Summer Eat Your Heart Out, the iconic Chicagoland foods celebration of smorgasbord, I love that word, of culinary delights to be found in our area. Gathered a lot of traffic and a lot of publicity. And the fall exhibit, In Pursuit of Happiness, Immigrants in Our Communities, which took a comprehensive look at the tapestry of people who call all over the western suburbs home, as well as the traditional favorites, the Elmhurst Craft Beer Fest and the bicentennial Elmhurst Quarry Tour, among other things. So David Oberg continues to do a tremendous job. Other city governments, bodies, let's start with the library. Mary Beth Harper, our excellent director, is here for the 6th year in a row. The library received a 5-star rating from the which one is the Library's Journal of Annual Review of Public Libraries. There's about 5,300 libraries that were rated nationwide. Only 13 in Illinois earned that 5-star rating. I mean, this gives you a lot of bragging rights, I gotta say. There's a publication called Library Journal, which reviews public library data that's reported to the U.S. government. Elmhurst Library placed in the top 10 in the $5 million to $10 million category, with notably high visits and Wi-Fi sessions per capita. The library is looking at its own 5-year strategic plan starting in 2023. And if you don't know what the Makery is, which is the place where you can go to make things, they got all kinds of tools and things. It's grown in popularity, 6,000 plus visits in 2022. So we're very proud of our library, and we have some new staff members here joining us today. District 205, President Kara Cafario and Dr. Keisha Campbell are here. I think Keisha might be going to year 2. She's still hanging in there. Thank you for that. Following a comprehensive process in partnership with the community, they launched a new strategic plan called Student Journey of Excellence. The Illinois State Board of Education released report cards in 2022 for the first time since 2019. Elmhurst had 6 schools designated as exemplary and 6 designated as commendable, which is both exemplary and commendable. They completed the installation of 300 interactive displays in their classrooms. They had quite a bit of turnover, hired 60 new staff members. If you haven't seen construction, I don't know where you've been. They built and opened the new and needed Lincoln School that was completed on time in August. Field School, our second oldest school, was demolished, and construction is well underway, so it's not there this year, but it will open at the start of next year. Renovations at both Jackson and Jefferson. They'll have brand new media spaces, and it says maker spaces, but I know that's not the library. And phase 1 of the Fisher project was completed, and that will also be ready for 2023. So a lot of work over at the school district. At the Park District, I see Jim Rogers is here, and we have a new president. There he is. Kevin, stand up, Kevin. Kevin Graff. President Spaeth did not go away. He just stepped aside, and welcome to the, whatever we call those big 3 of us that are supposed to have breakfast once in a while. But so a lot of work going on there. You may have noticed the old medical building on Palmer Drive was demolished for the expansion of Gloss Park, which is very nice. The Centennial Recreation Center on St. Charles in Arlington, right down the corner from me at 155 East St. Charles Road, opened in June. Serves adults, new home to Metropolitan Family Services. The Park District was awarded their association's Intergovernmental Cooperation Award for collaboration with the city to move Metropolitan Family Services from behind the washrooms in City Hall to the forefront in a facility that serves all of the adults, which means seniors, over at the new facility. And there's also a new park next door, Centennial Park, which is the first new park we've had in Elmhurst in about 30 years. And as I mentioned, when they tore the old building down, we dedicated the new Gloss Memorial Park in August, so a lot going on at the Park District. Thank you. So look at that, right on time. Can you imagine? Well, let me say this. There's a lot more that could be said, and I really appreciate that all of you have come out this morning to celebrate what we're doing here in the city. So as I say, what is the state of our city? It's excellent, and it looks to be much better in 2023. Thank you.
The mayor has agreed to take a few questions, if there are any.
When are you shaving your beard?
Yes.
What is the status of the new train station?
Who planted that question? Well, you know, it's a very interesting question because things that are interesting that have been operating in the background that maybe the public wasn't aware of, but the council was, that in the middle of it all, the Union Pacific Railroad told us that they gave an option to a developer to buy our train station and all the land around it, all the parking, which seemed kind of strange. The city manager was actually able to frustrate them to the point that they decided it wasn't worth it. So problem solved on that one. The other problem is that I think it was like 24 million, I might be off by a few million, it doesn't matter, but we had achieved $20 million in grants, so we were that close. Meanwhile, the cost is in excess of 30 million. The Illinois Department of Transportation, which has to review all the plans, is in slow mode because they're having a hard time keeping engineers. We've now found out that, because I'm not sure if it costs us $10 million, or the council would say, let's build it or not, but it now looks like these same granting agencies that were willing to put up the 20 would increase their stake, and we're back on track. So plans are being reviewed. When will we break ground? I can't say. I don't think it'll be this year. The plans will continue, the engineering will continue, but maybe next. Is that right, Noel? Finance?
No, I just noticed John Shade.
Oh, I didn't even recognize him. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you all for being here. Certainly thank you. Another round of applause for all our presenters this morning, please. And for the Community Bank of Elmhurst, now in our 30th year, thank you for being here. Have a safe morning.